Hello guys and welcome again to the channel. Hope you all are doing well. On today's video is about mix bus processing and why I think you need one. So let me start with why you need one, because I think that's more important. When you think about mixing on analog domain, you will normally have a bus compressor which glues everything together, which is why we have this, famous SSL glue bus compressors. And not just that, sometimes you also have like the pros patching a favorite EQ of their choice. Something that comes to mind is maybe a Puigtec, giving a bit of air to the top and then maybe a little bit of bump on the low end, which we call smiley curve, just to, make the track sound a bit more polished before they even start, treating individual stems. And if you think about analog domain, most of those bus compressors are actually in line from the beginning. Once you put all faders up, they are going to that bus compressor straight away. That's why, when you are mixing into a bus compressor, the mix tend to, hold together more than when you actually come to put the compressor afterwards, which is why the top-down mixing is more popular these days. I also follow that approach, because when you put a compressor at the beginning before mixing, it gives you that coherent, and also it glues the thing together, which makes you use less compressor on individual, tracks. Say for instance, if you were going to compress 3 dB, if you're already having a dB on the, whole mix, that means you compress 2. But if you try to put it at the end, it always doesn't sound, or should I say the feel is not as the same as when you have it at the beginning. That's why I think having a bus compressor and also few other bus processing before mixing, makes more sense. And on this particular mix, you will see that I've got this bus compressor, and when I start mine, I actually just throw them on, but I don't, let the compressor do anything, but at least it gives it that color. Then when I've got everything up to, the relative level where I want it, is when I start now tweaking my compressor, especially just to hit about maybe 2 dB at the loudest part most times. And then you see this saturation box, which is black box. I've got this 20% on this particular song. Sometimes I might move it up or down. Sometimes I might also crank in maybe pentode, depending on the sound really, because each sound is different. But 70% of all the mix will have this mix that I do, and then the settings will not vary from song to song. The next one is this iZotope Ozone 5. I'm using Ozone 5 on this particular one, but if you have maybe the version 10, which is the latest, or if you have version 9, you can also use it. It's just a broad EQ. You can see the bump there, the bump here, and a bit of shelf at the top, just to add this, refreshment, I call it, which you can call also smiley curve, to sort of open the mix up a bit. Then it goes into another harmonic exciter. This one is adding tube now, just a little bit on each band. Now goes into a dynamic, yet another compressor. But on this one, you will see the ratio is 50% on all of them, right? And I'm also making sure I'm not compressing more than a dB at the loudest part. So for the purpose of this video, I've also, thrown in my SSL Fusion, which is a hardware on this IO patch. So I'll play you guys how the mix came out with all this, bus processing, and then I'll also send it to the Fusion so you guys can actually hear what a real hardware will also bring to the table. So the next one is this, which is just, adding a touch of stereo width, just 0.9, because this is usually 100, but I made it 109. Then I think I also did a bit of stereo maker here, sorry, mono maker, which, mono in everything from 61 Hz. Let's have a listen to the mix with, and then I'll send it off to this, Fusion, and you guys can also see what the Fusion will add. But the original mix didn't have the Fusion, by the way. Let's have a listen.
Every man want brown. What a go on round town. Every girl want white and brown. Fling with them African crown. Some look like clown. Well, I'm proud to be black. Tell me I'm a sound. Girl like
So when you listen to the mix, having bypassed all this, you notice already that, you know, something has went away from the mix. It doesn't sound the same again because I mixed into all this. Let's bring them back in one at a time.
The sight of you, sweet melanin queen, what a lovely treat. Your pretty face and your loving ways make you so complete. What a go on round town, make every G1 brown. What a go on round town, every B1 white and brown.
So you could definitely see that having this mix post processing helped the mix, you know, sound more refined. So let me send this off to SSL Fusion and I'll record the Fusion with my mobile phone so you guys can actually see what I'm switching on and what I'm switching off. So you can see how this, you know, helped the mix. So as you can see down the bottom, I'm now using my mobile phone to record the Fusion. So let me send this mix off to it so you guys can also see what, you know, the hardware will add to the mix. Bearing in mind that when I send this mix off, this hardware was not part of the mix. But I just thought while we're discussing about bus processing, so you can also see what, you know, different, you know, bus processing can also bring to the table.
Make my colors frown. I'm proud to be black. Come tell me I'm sound. When I see your melanin skin, you get me into the mood. My emotions bubble up inside of me and cannot be subdued. So don't bleach your skin, my melanin queen, for this is what I conclude. Out of some of the blackest spot, I got some of the sweetest food. What a go on round town, make every man warm brown. What a go on round town, every girl want white and brown. Fling with them African crown. Some look like clown. Well, I'm proud to be black. Come tell me I'm sound. You must proud to be black. Proud to be black, and that's a natural factor. Proud to be black, you must proud to be black. Proud to be black, and that's a natural factor. Marcus Garvey stand up for that. Freedom fighter, full enough chatter. Them tell Rosa Parks get to the back. She said, what? Whole her sat. Malcolm and Martin died for that. Them get 2 shots and a lay down flat. And many more of our forefathers got hung on tree to defend their black liberty. So hear the pre. Can't sell out the legacy. You got to respect your black identity.
So as you guys can see, you know, adding that Fusion also brought about more excitement and a bit more width to the mix. But, you know, the mix didn't go through the Fusion when I originally sent it off to the guy. I just thought, let me add it for the purpose of this video so you guys can also see what such box can bring to the table. So if you notice that even adding that Fusion also made the mix sound a lot more lively, especially the vintage drive and transformers. Because I've also got a bit of EQing going on with the Fusion, and I've got a bit of stereo imaging, which is why I try to exaggerate it at some point so you can hear it pushing the mix to the sides. And, you know, talking about compressor, especially on the bus processing, try not to use fast attacks because it will crush your transients. So use, you know, slower or at least medium, depending on, you know, the kind of mix you have. But I will normally not go, especially on a bus compressor like this, the SSL one, I will not go anything lower than 10. I will normally stick around 20 or 30 on the attack, especially, you know, if it's a really, you know, heavy low end mix, 30, but 20 does a good job as well. Then release, you can have it medium, which is usually about 6 or 0.4, I mean 0.6 or 0.4, or have it at auto. Like on this one, you can see it's on auto, so it does the job. And also use a very low ratio, 1.5. Most times I might use 4, you know, depending if I need a bit more compression. But because I wanted to have like a stage compressors, that's why I went for a very light one, just, you know, a touch. So this is it, guys. Give the video a like if you like it, and also if you find it useful, you know, hit that super thanks and super sticker. Until next time, bye now.